It's the Score North Twin Show.
Welcome in to a State of the Twins Monday edition of the Score North Twin Show here. Phil Mackey, the sports dad, Judd Zulgad over there, and our resident beat podcaster on the ground in the Twins clubhouse, hiding in the laundry basket, Declan Goff.
Oh, God. I finally figured out a way not to be hiding in the laundry basket. This is not the segue into that.
You smoke cigs in the laundry room like Nishioka used to?
Just ripping darts and using that bidet, baby. Ready to go. When you walk into the Twins clubhouse, okay, there's a table that's typically there, like if guys want to sit down, but like there's usually like a jersey or like things that they have to autograph, more team announcement stuff that's just like on this table. And then in front of that table are 2 trash bins and then a laundry bin for the guys to throw like their towels, their pants, their uniforms into them. I seem to find myself standing in front of this damn thing where now I become target practice, and other media people have sometimes been in this problem too. I have now figured out a way to just go in front of that, which then there's a big couch in front of those laundry baskets. I now stay in there. I now just stay there.
Hey, Edward, could I just get a minute?
Yeah. As Chris Paddock in his 6'4" self cowboy is throwing, stuff from across the corner, like he's LeBron James. So yes, avoiding jock straps, avoiding towels.
Pablo, could I just?
Yeah. As Phil can attest, though, the worst case with that is post game NFL locker room.
I mean,
in the old Metrodome, like the Vikings locker room in the Metrodome was a closet.
Don't look down.
And players, don't look down, and players, like there was no courtesy of, hey,
Nope.
well, you would literally have clothes just flying past you and in some cases just hit you.
I mean, that happened even at US Bank when I covered games. Like, I mean, and now those locker rooms are much more spacious, and I know what you're saying, that the dome was a much more
The dome was
smaller.
like, you were walking, because all of their bags, it was a third the size of the US Bank Stadium facilities. So you'd literally be like walking on top of their like equipment bags to go and interview players and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Shoulder
You'd have
pads.
like 1 foot in Adrian Peterson's duffel bag and then like another foot on something that you're probably not supposed to. I don't know.
The amount of tape and jock straps I've had to step on, step over, even at US Bank, not even Target Field. US Bank is next level, so I do feel that. There's a different vibe in the football one versus the baseball one.
Well, the Twins is gorgeous. That clubhouse is absolutely gorgeous.
It still stands the test of time for sure. So, okay, we'll go through our State of the Twins Monday categories here. Twins are in the middle of a 9-game road trip. The Dex Plan 4.0 is going very well. A shout out to the St. Paul Saints, who have one of the finest ballparks in all of the land. And there is some buzz that maybe you can see Edouard Julien in a Saints uniform sometime here soon. That news is not official as of the recording of this podcast.
Oh, I hear it.
Yeah. Nor is it part of this official read, but consider it
Wow.
Buzz Factory.
Nice.
So the Saints, they've got some great theme nights coming up. June 7th, Star Wars night. June 8th, post-game monster food truck rally and fireworks super show. Tickets and full schedule at saintsbaseball.com, saintsbaseball.com. So here's the overview, State of the Twins. 33-26 is their record. 3rd place in the American League Central, but 5th best record in the American League. 6 games behind the Guardians. The Twins are 12th in runs scored per game. They are 15th in runs allowed per game. They have a 78% chance to make the playoffs, according to Baseball Reference, and a 5% chance to win the World Series, to win the whole bleeping thing. So we'll start with Dex here. Twins vibes are blank right now. Fill in that blank.
The Twins vibes are fresh. Fresh vibes. Fresh vibes. You won another series. You have survived this stretch where Royce Lewis was basically out for 2 months. Apparently yesterday was the best he had looked and felt to in his rehab assignment with the St. Paul Saints, and you were able to weather all the storm. I know I even got pushback when I said, hey, when the season starts, you're going to have IL stints to him, to Buxton and Correa. Well, those guys are always injured. What are you so surprised at? Let's factor in the other things that happened. Pablo Lopez, who finally spun around a really good start on Friday, had an ERA north of 5. You were without your best closer for the first month of the season. Edouard Julien and Matt Wallner would be so bad they were going to be in the minor leagues by June 1st. And again, this team is still 7 games over 500, in a good spot to be a playoff team, and all of that happened to them. Like, to me, I know that the 6-13 start was rough. The 7-game losing streak a few weeks ago, also rough. But they have still been able to be a relevant ball club with all of that stuff that still happened to them. And now you get Royce Lewis back, you plug him back in, the vibes are fresh. I'm sure there is a big kind of exhale. Even having to go to Yankee Stadium where you have historically never played well, getting Royce Lewis back means these vibes are fresh. Fresh vibes.
Judd, what about you? Twins vibes are blank right now.
I would describe them as steady. As steady. Yes, as Dex said, there was the 7-13 start. Yes, there was the sort of inexplicable, in some ways, just drop off the table losing streak, but it's also been steady. Like they're consistently winning series. They're for the most part consistently in games, rallying, like they don't seem dead. So I would describe them, and this is probably one of the biggest compliments that you can pay a team during the course of a baseball season, because steadiness is the absolute key in as long of season as they play. That it just feels, and I think I used the term about a month ago, stabilized, but now it just feels like they're going along, consistently playing well. Yes, there are some things that go wrong, but it's a baseball season that's going to happen. So I feel like they're just, you know what? Just steady as she goes.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean a little bit toward Dex here and say Twins vibes are optimistic right now, or they should be. Because there's a lot of years where you're grasping at straws for, okay, what would need, I mean, last year was kind of like this, where you're below 500 at a certain point, and you're like, oh man, for the Twins to go from where they are now to become relevant in the standings, this, and this would have to happen. Well, you're getting this, and this. Like you're Pablo Lopez, can his results line up more with his process and his FIP, his expected ERA? Working toward that. Can you get your best player back, Royce Lewis, which you likely will starting tomorrow in New York? And so all these things are going to start happening for this team. Maybe a trade, which I have something in one of the other categories on that too. Like there's levers to be pulled, and you already have the 5th best record in the American League. You're playing at a 90+ win pace without some of these levers being pulled. So Twins vibes should be optimistic right now, going into the middle third of the season. Okay, what is your current favorite Twins thing, Declan?
Favorite Twins thing, small sample size, but I kind of like leadoff man Trevor Larnach. So they have tried a lot of different options here after Edouard Julien was ineffective to start the year. They've put Kirilloff there. They clearly like to put a lefty there. You know, now they've gone to Trevor Larnach. And again, small sample. He's only been doing this for basically about a week. But in the week that Trevor Larnach has been the leadoff man, he's launched 3 home runs. He's worked some walks. He's basically become that new age leadoff hitter. You know, the Denard Spans and Juan Pierre's, that era of leadoff hitters is gone. It's never probably going to come back maybe again. And now you're seeing more guys in the last 4 or 5 years that are really true power hitters, or guys that can draw walks. And Trevor Larnach, who did go through some struggles in May after a red-hot start in April, has provided them at least somewhat a better spark at the leadoff position. He hits balls hard. He leads the team in hard hit rate, exit velocity. When he hits the damn ball, it's going harder than anyone else on the team. And that they're trying to find a consistent leadoff hitter. I mean, there's been warts with this offense up and down throughout the year with runners in scoring position and bases loaded. But I think having someone like Larnach who can hit the ball really well, can work a walk when he can. He won't be leading the league in walks by any means. I think having a productive leadoff hitter in Trevor Larnach, we'll see if this is their guy that they can stick with now for maybe the rest of the season.
It is funny how it has changed over the years. We're now like especially the last 5 years, but it used to be about setting the table with speed, but speed was like the headline over ability to get on base. You wanted someone on base that could steal second, go from first to third base on a base hit to right field, and then a guy in the 2-hole who could make some contact and move a guy over, get him on, move him over, kind of a thing. And now teams have smartened up. Not that speed isn't valuable. as a table setting thing, it's great. You get, if you hit a ball in the gap, that guy can score from first base. It is a more friendly environment to steal bases in 2024 with some of the rule changes. But you should be putting your best hitters in the first 3 spots in the order. The guys who get on base the most often, the guys who have the highest OPSs, because those guys are going to get more cracks at it, plate appearances in the first, second, third spots mathematically over the course of a season. And it's kind of crazy to say this. I mean, I was trying to tell you guys before the season started, don't write Trevor Larnach off, but most people out there who aren't as smart about baseball, I'm just kidding, like Trevor Larnach being one of the Twins' best hitters and being put in that spot is a pleasant surprise, but he's a former first-round pick. This dude was a masher in college, in the minor leagues, and sometimes it just takes age 26, age 27 for him. He's a little bit of a late blossomer, but you're sort of seeing what they thought they were getting, first-round pick all those years ago.
Speaking of that, I've got one. So you were saying don't write off Larnach, and it proved, at least so far, to be absolutely correct. I was saying, how about Jose Miranda? Because that's my positive. Because this guy, all right, I understand this. He's a man that's without a position in some ways, right? Like now Royce is going to come back. He's going to take third base. The question is, where does, Miranda DH more often? Probably play some first base. He certainly can. He's not great. But, people forget 2 years ago, this guy came up and had some pop. Mm-hmm. And he was, he was a productive player. And then he hurt his shoulder. And it basically wiped out his entire 2023. And I feel like going into spring training, it was sort of like, well, if you get something from him, fine. If you don't, he's a AAA guy. He can go down. And if you look now, among the things where this team has done a pretty good job, especially after the rough start of treading water since Royce Lewis got hurt, Jose Miranda has played an absolutely key role. Remember, he was supposed to play first base in St. Paul. And the Twins at one point in time, I think, basically declared the third base thing is dead. And then he came up, I think he was recalled for that Dodgers series at Target Field in April. And the Twins are like, we're going to play him at third base. But Rocco's point is he's not our everyday guy there. Like, this is not, he's just going to play some third. But he hit that, what was an impressive home run yesterday against the Stros. He is now slashing going into, through that game in 44 games since his recall. 280, 311, 469, 6 home runs, 20 runs driven in. And I feel like he hasn't gotten enough credit because, again, if you put, Castro at third base, it's probably fine. But Jose Miranda has 100% given you the type of pop that I think a lot of people bailed on him and thought he wouldn't, when the reality was he was hurt. He's now back. And yes, he might not be positionally great, but his bat in your lineup, for the most part, in my opinion, is a definite plus, and he deserves credit for that.
And this is where Buxton not being locked into a DH spot still creates a ton of flexibility with what they want to do with Jose. And he's been one of their most clutch hitters. He's hitting 342 with runners in scoring position. This one's even crazier. When the pitcher is ahead in the count, which is typically always going to be a situation where it's an incredible pitcher advantage and it's going to be incredibly difficult for a hitter to get on base. Jose Miranda is hitting 362 when the pitcher is ahead in the count.
That's pretty crazy.
I don't think that's going to be sustainable over the season, but regardless, his bat has found its way into the lineup. He's third base. He's, I think, passable at, to Judd's point. I don't think it's maybe as bad as they once thought. He's going to play some first, most likely too. He'll DH when Royce is here. So Jose Miranda has found his place into the lineup. Like, even though it was kind of assumed whenever Royce comes back, they'll just ditch Jose Miranda, his bat played himself into the lineup to the point of you can't send that bat down. So it's a good problem to have.
Can we have, because the Julien conversation we're like hitting on the pieces that are surrounding the Julien. Are you guys putting Julien in your least favorite, or can we have the Julien conversation right now as part of this?
We can have it now. He's not in my least favorite, but we can definitely.
So He is. I did see, like I saw yesterday, some of the Twins Daily guys, the well-respected, Twins Daily was talking about, like, they couldn't believe that. Why would the Twins do this? It's not official yet, but he was apparently in Rocco's office saying goodbye to teammates in the clubhouse. So there's a lot of fans that are like, what? He was one of your best players last year, and the guy goes cold for a little while here. Why is he being punished and demoted to the minor leagues? Well, part of it is Jose Miranda. This would have been an easy 1-for-1 third baseman for third baseman swap if Miranda was just holding a spot on the 26-man roster. He's been one of your best players. It's probably also an easier decision if, like Kyle Farmer, for instance, wasn't a well-respected clubhouse leader and a guy that you could put at different positions utility-wise. And you could make a case that maybe he should be sent out, period. But here's the reality. Edouard Julien, since April 28th, is batting .169 with a .454 OPS. He has struck out in 36 of his 95 plate appearances, which is, we always used to poke at Miguel Sano for his historically high strikeout rate. Joey Gallo, that's like a 40%. That's a Joey Gallo, Miguel Sano strikeout rate over the past month or so. So is it just a bad 3 or 4 weeks and the Twins are pulling the plug too quickly on him? Or Declan's been reporting on this from the clubhouse. Are there deeper underlying things that he needs a longer stretch to iron out at AAA with the Saints, hitting breaking balls, not looking at strike three on such a regular basis? And the Twins have clearly, if they make this official, the Twins have clearly said, yeah, dude, you need to go down and get a tune-up. Maybe not even just for like a week, but maybe you need to spend a month or two there. It wouldn't shock me. By the way, Brooks Lee's back healthy. There's some dudes that might pass him on the way up the ladder here. Miranda just did, coming back up the ladder. So I don't know. What do you guys make of the Edouard Julien potential demotion here that may become official later today or tomorrow?
So I do know that Julien, too, has never really experienced a stretch like this where he has gone a month plus without being able to hit consistently, which I know sounds crazy because in a classic baseball season, there are going to be, areas where you're not hitting the ball really well, right? But if you look at his numbers when he was at Auburn in college, when you look at his minor league numbers, he has been just incredibly consistent at what he does, which is absolutely crush fastballs, have some struggle with breaking balls, but if he can work a count and work some walks, he can take some of those strikeouts, turn them into walks. But now he is getting pitched where everyone on the other team knows that if I even remotely throw this guy a fastball in his zone, he's going to crush it. He's going to pull it. He's going to go the other way with it. He can do so many things with the fastball. This is what happens when you come up and there's no book on you. And Edouard Julien was really good last year, but pitchers have now adjusted to him to the point where everything is coming up at him with breaking balls and off-speed pitches that he can't hit. So, he has a very particular set of skills at the plate with crushing fastballs and not chasing pitches. He will not chase things outside the strike zone. So he has to do one of two things. He has to kind of not abandon that approach, but change an approach that has made him successful up to this point, which is that's a crossroads decision of I have done things a certain way from college to minors to my first taste in the major leagues, and I did it pretty damn well up to that point. Now, you're 25, 26 years old. There's a book on you that says I know how to get you out. So can you tweak that? Can you change some of your approach?
Jeffers has been doing it, right? I mean, Jeffers is hitting home runs off changeups and stuff now.
Yeah, and I think that's the cross. It's not even just him going down to, because I think some people look at that as like, oh, they're just going to send him to AAA and he's just going to see AAA pitching and have a great OBP and then come right back up here. Like, he has to honestly change some approach things that he has always done. And for some baseball players, that is very difficult for them to accept. And I think that's what he has to figure out in AAA.
So the league has said, we're not throwing you fastballs anymore because you're at least to the volume that we were as a league before. And as a result, he has one extra base hit since April 27th. This was a key piece to your deepest run in 20 years team from last year.
And I heard a stat on the broadcast yesterday. I believe he has significantly more called strike threes. I think De La Cruz of Cincinnati is second. and there's a big gap there. And so like I love this move because I think that this move is the challenge that we see so many guys face, right? Like so many guys. Like this is not rare. This is not like, oh, Julian's career is done now. This is can you adjust to the adjustments? And I think this was not just a bad month plus stretch. What this was an indicator of what the league had done to him. And now it's up to him to go down to AAA and work his ass off. And that does not just mean in games, but work his ass off to adjust back. And this is the challenge. This is what makes baseball so fun, because you can get away with a lot of stuff at Auburn, and you could probably get away with a lot of stuff in the minor leagues, that when you get here and now everyone has an iPad instantaneously looking at every damn fault that is in your game, guess what? It gets exposed. This reminds me, I'm going to go back to, I believe it was the summer of 99. This reminds me of Torrey. Torrey Hunter was at a big crossroads. He got sent down. And it wasn't.
He was chasing the breaking balls. It was kind of the other.
He was a mess. Yeah, he was a complete mess, but he got sent down. And you know what he did? He worked his butt off. And he got back, and he never went down again. And so this is not a punishment, though. I think the punishment was honestly playing him all the time, because you can't adjust here. It's too much. You can't just say, hey, kid, figure it out here. So for all of those who say, well, who's going to play second base, or this is a travesty, how can you send him down? This is one of the most sensible things I think I have seen this current Twins administration and brass do. It makes perfect sense. And if it works, guess what? In 2 years, we're going to talk about this as a turning point in Julian's career, as a positive. If it doesn't work, you're going to have problems. But guess what? You needed to find out. And I don't think that you need to find out on a daily basis in the big leagues, because once it's exposed, it's exposed.
Here's the looking strikeout statistic, and it's really bad. So of every player in the major leagues, Edouard Julien by far has the most looking strikeouts. So he's been caught looking 34 times in the first 2 months of the season. Wow. The next closest is Jesse Winker with 26, and then Ellie De La Cruz has 25. Okay. Nobody else has more than 22. And again, Edouard Julien is sitting at 34. Here's another one. So percentage, this is looking strikeout percentage, Baseball Reference. So it's what percentage of all of your strikeouts are looking strikeouts. Sal Frelick from Milwaukee is the only one with a higher looking strikeout rate, 52%. Julien, 51% of his strikeouts are caught looking. So, and a lot of those are just, it's either breaking balls that he's hoping aren't strikes, or maybe he's caught now expecting a breaking ball, and they give him a fastball in the corner, whatever. We'd have to do a breakdown of all the different ways he's been caught looking. But however you slice it, he is the easiest hitter in the entire league to get caught looking on strike three. So you're not even like, I mean, it's one thing if you're Torrey Hunter and at least you're like being aggressive and you're looking to do something and you're hunting, no pun intended. And I mean, it's not good either way because you're striking out too much. But that's why Torrey got sent down 25 years ago, because, all right, 2 strikes, slider in the other batter's box, and he's swinging and missing. Yeah.
Like the common thing between both of those guys is they were a complete mess. And I don't think the big leagues is the place to try and work on that. I think that this is a great test, because we're going to find out if Julien has the talent to tackle this. The approach has to change. And if the approach changes, I think he's back here at some point, and I think he's absolutely fine. But again, we've criticized the Twins for a lot, and I think it's deserved. I applaud this, and I think it's the humane thing to do to allow him to get out of the spotlight, Declan.
Yeah, and the fastball usage, so like last year teams were throwing him fastballs 54% of the time. This year it's down to 47. And if you look at the numbers of the fastball splits, they're basically identical. So Julien is seeing less fastballs and still having the same amount of productivity at them, which is great. Like he can still crush fastballs. but the breaking ball usage has gone up from 28% last year to 37%. That is a humongous increase from the opposition to say, we know how to get you out. Good luck trying to figure it out. And until you make an adjustment, we will pitch you like this for the rest of your career.
Yeah. And so it's not over for him, but go down, iron it out, come back and see where, this roster is at once we get to the later parts of the season. Okay, I'm going to give you my favorite Twins thing real quick, and then we can do our least favorite Twins things to round out the episode. My favorite current Twins thing is how hot many of their position player prospects are. The value on the Twins, you look at the Twins' top 10 prospects, and I might be leaving some guys out here, but Walker Jenkins on the mend. He's put in like a week and a half at the rookie league facility. And as expected, he's mashing. They're going to move him up the ladder. Brooks Lee is going to be back in St. Paul. He's working his way up on a rehab assignment. He'll be back with the St. Paul Saints, likely, this week, next week. Emmanuel Rodriguez has been just carving up. Now, he's been out for like a week. Do we know what's wrong with Emmanuel Rodriguez?
We have no idea what's going on there.
So he's been out for like a week.
Yeah. We don't know what's happening there.
And when he's been in the lineup for the AA affiliate, the Wichita Wind Surge, he's been one of the best hitters in the league. And he's like 22, 23 years old. Also, another name to watch, Luke Keyshaw. Mm-hmm. So he was a second-round pick by the Twins a couple years ago, 21 years old, just absolutely mashing. So you've got, and I bring this up to say, it's great if any of these players in the next 2 years come up through the system and become Twins players. Gabriel Gonzalez is another one too. It's also great if you have to trade 2 or 3 of them for a high-end starting pitcher or a lights-out reliever.
I was waiting for this.
That you could deal from this stash of poker chips and still have some other really good position players left over. So this is it seems anyways, like this is one of the best stashes of trade chips the Twins have had in several years. If they stay healthy and if they're still valuable in like a month or two.
I think it's going to be an awesome problem for them to have because, yes, they could also use another starting pitcher. I still think they could use a big bat in the middle of their lineup. Do they go get another bullet in the bullpen to just kind of make it a super pen? Duran, I know, has been a little bit of walking the plank, but Griffin Jacks has been incredibly effective for them. They have a good amount of lefties. Jorge Alcala continues to show more and more promise with a big fastball and a good breaking ball too. So they have options, and I think now having the surplus of prospects is going to be very interesting for them come trade deadline time.
Where do we think, if they were to deal from the prospect group, where do we think they'd be willing to start? Like, do we think who's untouched? Who do you think is untouchable? And at what point do we get to a number where it would be tough to trade the player, but they'd be willing to do it?
Well, I think Walker Jenkins is untouchable.
Right.
I think they really like Brooks Lee.
Yeah, I would put him in untouchable, at least for this
Unless
summer.
The back is bad and they know it, but yeah, I would agree with you guys.
Yeah, if they know it, but then like the medicals would.
It's about damn time the Twins trade a damaged player. That's all I gotta say. I'm not feeling bad for anyone who takes a damaged player from the Twins.
Emmanuel Rodriguez looks like he's going to be an absolute stud who gets on base, hits for power.
And there's clearly going to be a place for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think Gabriel Gonzalez is someone, if he continues to play well, that they could actually move because they just acquired him in that Polanco trade. Like all these other guys, they were drafted, cultivated, they're in the system, right? So like when you get another one that's from another system and Gabriel Gonzalez is having a solid year,
right? He
would be someone you flip, and that's where you get to like the spider webs of, all right, that Jorge Polanco and Justin Topa trade for the major league pieces hasn't worked out for either team. But then if you spend some of those assets in Gabriel Gonzalez to get you something that helps you right now, well, now all of a sudden those trades end up being very beneficial.
So Keyshaw is an interesting one, and that might be a new name if you're not like following every single day. So this year he's been at Cedar Rapids and then Wichita, second base and outfield. He can play some center. I don't know where they project him long term. He also has dabbled in third base, but call him a second baseman and an outfielder of some kind. Well, those are like 2 loaded positions for the Twins, major leagues and minor leagues. They have a ton of outfielders. They also have Julien and Brooks Lee at second base, who are both in their mid to low 20s. And then you got Carlos Correa and Royce Lewis, shortstop, third base. Royce Lewis is a shortstop they've converted because of their logjam. So to me, like position-wise, Keyshaw is really interesting. And so far this season, between high A Cedar Rapids and double A Wichita, mostly at high A Cedar Rapids, but he's now played a week at Wichita. This dude's batting .333 with a .446 on-base percentage and an OPS just below 1,000. Last year, in the 31 games in the lower levels of the minor leagues, he also had a .900 OPS. And this is after at Arizona State in 2023, one of the better programs historically in college baseball, and a Pac-12 conference that's always pumping out good teams. Not quite like SEC level, but at Arizona State, his last year, he had an OPS of 1,168, .353, .443 on base, a .700 slugging as a 20-year-old junior at Arizona State. So this dude can hit. Do you trade him at age 21 while his value is high and he's climbing up the rankings, or do you believe that like he might be one of your best hitters at some point in the next few years? But this is a good problem to have. That they've got some guys that are performing really well. They might even go on to perform well for another team, like we saw with those players the Twins traded to the Reds. So, quick lap around the room here. Yeah, I mean you're good, but like sometimes you're going to trade players that, yeah, they're good players and they're going to be good players.
Just make
for
sure that
somebody
the
else
guy that you get back is not hurt.
Yes, I think that's
all we ask.
Prerequisite. For. Yeah. Hey, a shout out to our friends at EcoFun. EcoFun Motorsports is your summertime fun headquarters. Scooters, motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, electric bikes, you name it. On the waterfront, you can stop into their Forest Lake location where they have a fully stocked line of 2024 Kawasaki, Yamaha, Watercraft, all the top brands. 2 locations, EcoFun in Forest Lake and in Burnsville. Go to their website, ecofunmotorsports.com, ecofunmotorsports.com. Also, a shout out to our friends at Nicolay Law, the exclusive personal injury law firm of the Score North Twin Show. Nicolay Law knows that when you or a loved one gets injured, when you get put on the injured list, that life can come to a stop, things can get complicated. That's where Nicolay Law comes in to get you the compensation you deserve after an accident. They're just normal folks who are part of the Twin Cities community that happen to have law degrees. You can start your path to winning at nicolaylaw.com or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY, nicolaylaw.com. Your least favorite Twins thing right now, Dex?
So my least favorite Twins thing is the amount of home runs given up. So the Twins, even though the pitching staff, I think as a whole, has done a pretty good job this year, even maybe in exceeding the expectations, and that's with Pablo Lopez being ineffective. The Twins have given up 74 bombs this year. That is the third most in all of baseball. In the last week, they have given up the most home runs in the entire American League with 12 in just the last 7 days. And if you talk to any pitchers, I remember learning about this even for like the first time when I interned with the Saints. Kerry Lightenberg was the pitching coach, longtime, very successful reliever with the Atlanta Braves. I think him and George are coaching again in the indie scene. So Kerry and George, they go way back. But Kerry Lightenberg, a very good pitching coach. And I remember asking him about home runs given up. And this is very well known. But as a pitcher, you are okay with giving up a solo shot because it's just one pitch, it's one batter, you restart. Like it is what it is. Now, you can't be giving up a home run tied 1-1 in the bottom of the ninth. That's a back-breaking one, and that's going to lose you the game. Mm-hmm. But as a whole, typically giving up solo shots is not going to kill you. The problem is Twins have also given up 30 home runs this year with men on, and those ones can start to really hurt you. So when you're giving up the 2-run, the 3-run, I believe they've only given up the 1 grand slam, and it was a backbreaker this year when Steven Okert served one up that basically won the game in the 7th for the Mariners. Limiting these damages and those home run balls are going to be a big thing for the Twins going forward. Like only the White Sox have allowed I believe more home runs, and we all know how bad that is.
Tommy Pham,
by the way. Tommy Pham's going to murder somebody. Oh, my God, that was weird.
I do this to F people up.
He, like, trains as a fighter in the offseason.
Yeah, he basically threatened a man's life.
In case he needs to mess somebody up.
Squaring people up. But, yeah, the amount of home runs given up And trying to limit that damage more is going to be very, very big for the Twins. They can't be giving up this many bombs.
Before I get to mine, some breaking news here. Despite the fact the Twins have not announced this officially, the MLB transaction log does show that Edouard Julien has been sent to the Saints. So
the transaction's official, but
so they
it's
put
not been reported, or the Twins have not announced it.
You don't see anything, you don't hear anything. So it looks like the transaction log has
it's hilarious.
That move, which should be surrounded by Royce being recalled probably tomorrow then by the Twins. All right, my least favorite thing, it's a very unfortunate thing, and we talk about it a lot, but I'm beginning to wonder if it is what it is. And this is not that this guy shouldn't play, but it's Byron Buxton, who remains fantastic. Like he's not as probably effective as he once was in center because of his knee problems and the fact that it's very clear it hurts consistently. But I still prefer him being in center field to any other choice that this team has. But that being said, on Sunday against the Astros and the Twins win, he was 0 for 4, struck out twice more. He is batting .232, 3 home runs in 42 games. He's driven in 15 runs, and his OPS is .671. And I'm just beginning to wonder, is this something where he's going to find it, or is this he's in pain a lot? It impacts him. And I think that's a fair question. I think it's very fair. He's not going to come out probably and say this, but I think it's very fair to wonder if what we're talking about here is a guy that definitely has instincts and is still very effective in the field. But when it comes to him at the plate, it might just sort of be, I mean, I'm not saying he can't have a great week, okay? I'm not saying he can't have a run of some sort.
Yeah.
But I am saying that it looks like, as far as his effectiveness at the plate, you do have to begin to wonder if you're just in a situation where you're going to have to sort of accept what you get. And the expectations at this point probably just simply get toned down. And if he makes plays in center. And that is a big plus, as opposed to, let's say, Willie Castro, who lost track of the outs at some point this season.
Yeah. So I'm going to piggyback off this because my least favorite Twins thing is Byron Buxton's bat. And you brought some of the numbers. I want to highlight and put it even more into context. Now, it's good that he's roaming center field. Like, I think we would all just sort of take this version of Byron Buxton as an outfielder and then put him in the bottom parts of the lineup and just hope for the best. Maybe he figures it out offensively.
Look at that smirk from Declan.
Declan's wanted him there the entire time.
That was such a bleep you smirk.
Yep. So maybe Declan was right all along.
Yeah, let's admit to it.
Not maybe. Declan was right all along about Byron Buxton.
Let's admit it. Yeah.
Okay. But if you look at it took him until 2019 to really figure it out offensively. That 2019 is when the power came along.
Yep.
He really started becoming one of the premier power hitters in baseball when he was able to be on the field, right? Last year, when he was a DH, before they shut him down, the offense was a shell of what it was the previous 4 years. So if you take Buxton from age 25 to 28, when he really figured out the power hitting aspect, and you compare what we've seen the last 2 years as a DH and then this year back in center field, boy, he's a shell of himself, man. So his OPS the last 2 years combined is about 700, just a little over 700. That's almost 200 points worse than where it was in the previous 4 seasons. Mm-hmm. He had an 874 OPS in the previous 4 seasons. Slugging percentage the last 2 years is right around 430 or so. The previous 4 years, it was 558. So, and I could play this game for on-base percentage for pretty much anything. He's just been a shell of what he was from 2019 through 2022. Would still take it. Hope that he clicks a little bit more. We'll take the wheels and the glove in center field. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on. If he's just if this is who he is as a hitter, then you can't put him anywhere near the top 5 or 6 spots in that lineup.
Well, and I think it's fair now to recklessly speculate, with all due respect, if that knee is just causing him problems consistently. Like this whole thing about, well, the flap got removed, and I'm sorry, okay, that's great that it worked to a certain degree, and I think that's fantastic. But this whole notion that it was going to be this magical cure, to me, made no sense. I mean, Rocco Baldelli, who I think Dex would agree is pretty, he's pretty careful with how he parses his words.
Yep.
When Rocco Baldelli a couple of years ago, in frustration, came out and said it's chronic. I don't think you can go in and surgically repair a chronic problem. I think you can buy him time. And so I do think that this flat being taken out of this procedure probably helps. But I don't think you can think that a guy who, Phil, to your point, in 2019 figured it out, now just can't. To me, there's something more there.
Yeah.
And it goes to the fact that it probably takes a toll trying to hit.
100%. And his value right now is being an incredible center fielder. He's still very, very productive. He's still one of the best in the big leagues. And at this point, this lineup, yes, it'd be nice if Byron Buxton could have really reached his full potential at the plate over the course of 162 games. His value is going to be in the field and hopefully a hot streak where he's pulling baseballs for home runs. That's who Byron Buxton is going to be at the plate. Now, they signed him to a humongous contract, and I don't think you can continue to pay a guy like that to a big contract if he is only going to hit 210 and maybe run into 20 home runs a year. That is a problem.
I don't think the contract's a problem. Is that a hot take? He makes like $15 million a year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's worth $15 million a year with his glove alone.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and he signed a team-friendly contract, I think, based on the knowledge from both sides that this wasn't going to go smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in fact, I'm just curious, what Fangraphs has for his, because they put a monetary value on every player. So he is, according to Fangraphs, he is worth, to this point in the season, he's been worth $5 million. So we're a third of the way through. If he just keeps kind of plugging along, playing defense like this, and if his bat doesn't even come around, he's going to be a $15 million player basically with his glove, right? So if he had signed a $30 million deal, like a Carlos Correa deal, it'd be more of an albatross. But
yeah, I do think that there's a conversation, and we should actually probably bring this up with Plouffe tomorrow. I think there's a conversation too, a very deep inside baseball hitting conversation to be had about the problem here. So it's his right knee, right? So that's where he generates his power from. So I think you can play center because in that case, both your legs are doing basically the same thing, if that makes sense. But if you think about his power, if you think about in 2019, what made him so effective, if you don't have that plant knee, it hurts, and now it's affected, I think that there is, I refuse to believe that he just forgot how to hit, or now his power is gone, or I think, and I feel bad for the dude, I think he worked his ass off to really make himself a productive player at the plate. And I don't think he's the type of guy who's just I lucked into one or two, or in the case that you brought up, Phil, 3 years. So I think that this goes back to, it's probably hard to generate power, and I think it's hard to probably have quality at bats if the knee that you're planting on to hit basically is gone.
Yeah, we can consult with Coach Trev tomorrow.
I just like to break things down from a Charlie Lau standpoint, from a hitting coach standpoint. Actually, I have no clue, but it sounds good. It sounds like it would be a problem.
I think your
to drive the ball.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're probably onto something, and we can verify it with Coach Trev tomorrow. Yeah, Trevor Plouffe Tuesdays on the Score North Twin Show. If you're new here, I think the bandwagon's going to pick up a little bit here now that the Wolves run is done. People are looking for another winner. Who can I latch onto? It's the Twins bandwagon.
Follow
the Score North Twin Show.
Dex all over it.
Yeah, we had a big surplus yesterday in subscribers after I jumped on quick for the first Royce Lewis Edouard Julien update. So yeah, keep them. This is a welcoming place. Okay, bring your ass to the Twin Show. I'm 100% for it. Please do.
Yeah, we have a new YouTube channel, the Score North Twin Show YouTube channel. It's our third YouTube channel. We have the Score North channel, Purple Daily, and now the Score North Twin Show YouTube channel. So, all right, boys, that's your State of the Twins Monday here. We'll see you guys for some extra innings episodes with Declan, and we'll see you for a Trevor Plouffe Tuesday tomorrow.